Today, we're jumping into a really interesting and honestly super important rule in business and law. It's called the rule of prior disclosure. All right, let's start with a little thought experiment. Picture this. Someone who works for you goes out and makes an amazing deal. They did it secretly, but they had you in mind the whole time. Now, you hear about it, you love it, and you want in. The big question is, can you just jump in and legally claim that deal after it's already been made? Well, that's what we're going to find out. And this whole scenario, it really gets to the heart of some of the unwritten, or, well, actually written, rules of business. Specifically, what happens when someone is supposed to be making a deal on behalf of their boss? The key legal idea here is something called agency, and it's actually pretty simple. It's just a relationship where one person, we'll call them the agent, has permission to act for someone else, the principal. And believe me, this principal-agent thing, it's the foundation for almost everything in the business world. Okay, so to really get our heads around this, we're going to look at a classic court case. Now, it's pretty old, we're talking over 100 years, but the lesson is just as relevant today as it was then. It's all about a simple deal for some wheat that went totally wrong, and in doing so, it created a huge rule that we still follow today. So here's how it all went down. You've got a company, and they tell their agent, hey, go buy us some wheat at this price. Simple enough, right? The agent goes out, finds a seller, and they strike a deal. Everything looks totally normal. But, and this is the crucial part, the agent makes the deal in his own name. He never, not once, says he's buying it for a boss. So let's meet the players. First, you've got the principal, Keeley, Maxted & Co. They're the company that wanted to buy the wheat. Then there's the agent, Roberts. He's the guy they sent out to get the deal done. And finally, the third party, Durant. He's the one selling the wheat. Now, this is super important. From his point of view, he was just making a deal with Roberts, one-on-one. He had absolutely no idea there was this big company hiding in the background. So this is where things get really sticky. It leads us right to what's called the ratification problem. And this is where we find out why what looked like a perfectly good handshake deal just wasn't going to cut it. So back at headquarters, the company gets word of the deal Roberts made. And guess what? They love it. The price is right, they want the wheat, so they say, great, let's make this official, we'll take it. And this whole idea of approving a deal after it's already been made, it has a fancy legal name, ratification. Basically, it's the principal coming in late and saying, yep, that deal my agent did, I'm good with it, it's mine now. It's like giving a retroactive thumbs up. And this is where you can see the whole problem in a nutshell. What actually happened was that the agent Roberts made the deal in his own name, keeping his boss completely secret. What should have happened? He should have just said, hey, I'm acting for someone else here. That one little detail, that one omission, it changes the entire game. Of course, a mistake this big ends up in one place, court. And the court's decision gave us a landmark principle, the undisclosed principle rule. So let's see what the judges had to say. So this was the big legal question, right? Could the company just swoop in, approve this secret deal after the fact, and force the seller to go through with it? In the court's answer, it was about as clear as it gets. A big, fat no. Absolutely not. The company had no right to claim that deal. And their reasoning was so simple, yet so powerful. The court basically said, look, a principal can only ratify a contract if the agent at least pretended to be acting for a boss at the time the deal was made. The agent didn't have to name names, but they had to make it clear they weren't just acting for themselves. So here's the bottom line, the main takeaway from all of this. An undisclosed principal, a secret boss, cannot swoop in and ratify a contract if their agent never even hinted that they were acting for someone else. It's as simple as that. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This is a really old case about wheat. Why should I care? But here's the thing. This rule is absolutely fundamental to how we do business today. And it all boils down to one word, fairness. So why is this rule so fair? Well, for one, it protects the seller. I mean, you have a right to know who you're actually getting into a contract with, right? It also stops the secret principal from cherry picking. They can't just sit back, watch the market, and then decide to jump in only if the deal looks good, and leave their agent high and dry if it goes bad. It just makes things clear and predictable for everybody. So, when it's all said and done, it comes down to 3 simple conditions for ratification to be legit. Number 1, the agent has to say they're acting for a principal. Number 2, that principal has to actually exist at the time. You can't make a deal for a company you're hoping to create later. And number 3, while the principal doesn't need to be named, they have to be somehow identifiable. So that brings us to the big idea here. This isn't just some old, dusty legal rule. It's a powerful idea about transparency, right? It levels the playing field. It makes sure that no one gets to hide in the shadows and play both sides. It's all about making sure that when you sit down to make a deal, you actually know who's sitting across the table. It really makes you wonder, how does this simple rule ensure that fairness is always part of the negotiation?